Going on to chapter 5, section 4, we're getting into the other part where instead of multiplying, we're going to sort of unmultiply, and that is factor. But to give us some basic vocabulary and technique for factoring, we want to find the greatest common factors of these particular numbers. And then we're also going to factor them. So what we want to do here is we have a 16 and a 24. What number as a factor can I take out of each one of these? Well, you might say a 4. And if you tried a 4, in fact, let me do that. I'm going to take a 4 out, and then I get 4x minus 6. And notice what I have left in the parentheses here, that there's still something I can factor out of there. So if you get something like this, then you didn't take out the greatest common factor. So that would be incorrect. Even though you did take out a factor, it wasn't the greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor is actually 8. So this will give you a 2x minus 3. And now what's in the parenthesis, there's no more common factors. All right, for this one, as you look at it, we have a 6 and an 18, and a y and y to the third. The greatest common factor we can take out of there, think of it for a moment. The number part would be 6, and then the letter part would be y. So that we took out a 6y, what's left here? Well, a 1. Don't forget the 1. And then minus 3y squared. Now, as a check and a review of what we did earlier, you can distribute that and see if you get this product. Now, for this one, as you look at it, again, you're saying 2 times 5, 4 times 5, 3 times 5. You could take a 5 out of each term, and a y, y to the second, y to the third, you can take a y out. And then that would leave you with a 2 here, minus 4y plus 3y squared. And then once again, the check would be multiplying, and you get that, distributing as we call it, and it checks out. Okay, continuing with chapter 5, section 4, and we're going to move into factoring. And here we look at example 7, and our question is there a common factor within these two terms? And the answer is yes, this is a common factor. So we're going to factor that out. And then put this and that. And now we have factored out the common factor, and this is what we had. Now, keep in mind what's going on here. Well, if we wanted to take this binomial and multiply it by this binomial, the old rule was take the first member of the first binomial and multiply it by the second binomial. That's what we have here. then the second term of the first binomial, multiply it by the second binomial. And that's what we have here. So we're just taking it from an intermediate stage and bringing it back into its factored form. So again here we see a common factor. So we put our 3y minus 8 and then our 5x minus 7. And it's similar to example 7. And this leads into our next topic, which is called factoring by grouping. And the key to this is if you see a polynomial like this, and there's no common factor in the whole series of the expression, but you notice that in the first two terms, there is a common factor of x. And in the second two terms, there is a common factor of 6. And now you see there's your common factor. So we have taken a 4-termed polynomial, factored something out of the first two terms, something out of the last two terms, and we ended up with a common factor that we then put in a set of parentheses, and then our other two go there. This is like the full experience. These were leading up to this particular example. And once again, it's factoring by grouping. So again, factoring by grouping, 4 terms. There's no common factor in all of them, but there is a common factor in the first two. So we're going to factor out here a 4x, and this will give us a 2y plus 1. Now again, if you think you can factor by grouping, you're looking for this term here. And you might say, in order to get out of these two terms this, what is my common factor that will result in this? And the answer is a -3. And if you just distribute, you see you get that answer. And so now it's 2y plus 1 and 4x minus 3. So here we had to take out a negative to reverse the signs to get our common factor. And let's see what we have here. Well, we could take out a 5x. This gives us an x plus 3. And here we're going to take out a 2y and get an x plus 3. And our common factor, x plus 3, 5x plus 2y. And again, if you FOIL this, you would eventually get that. And if you use that technique, first member of the first binomial by that, you could do it that way as well.